What they are showing you is factual, it's true. But they only show you the pieces that they want you to know. It's almost like lying by omission so that they can reach their goal or their agenda. So what I'm trying to tell you here is think for yourselves. Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Sunday to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Now, a forward warning. I'm going to choose my words very carefully here because I still have 8 days left until I'm out of probation, right? So I have 8 days left until my probation is over from when I got put in jail here almost 3 months ago. This is something that we have to talk about. Is it something that we can do something about? In my opinion, no. Because governments are too strong for any one of us to make a difference individually. And in my opinion, as I've stated in the past, we as a world, as humanity, are divided. It is the one thing that I think that governments have done very well. Normally, I would ask you, what has government done that is any good to any one of you or to any one of us? But the one thing that I believe that government has done very well, has done a great job at, is dividing humanity. So ask yourselves, what has government done that is really good in your lifetime? I would love to know. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, we have to prepare for a world where food is going to become unavailable and where you're going to have to rely on your preps to get through some times. And the time that we're going to have to get through with our preps is going to be whatever amount of time it takes for humanity, for the people, for we the people to actually wake up and take back our sovereignty and take back humanity from the people that are trying to take it over. And in a way, kind of have. But there's always hope that people will wake up and take it back. This is very dangerous, in my opinion. By the way, everything that I'm saying here, even though I'm going to read you some things from NASA, right, from actual NASA, from the NASA website, everything that I'm saying here is 100% my opinion, and you have to do your own research. I am not a professional in anything. I have a 2-year college degree in general education, which means that I went to college, or which means that I went to high school for an additional 2 years. That's all that means. All right. However, I do believe that that extra 2 years of schooling has served me very well throughout my adult life. And as you see here, the White House is pushing ahead research to cool Earth by reflecting back sunlight. How many of you remember the little experiment that governments all over the world conducted here in the last couple of years, 2.5 years? And how well do you think that little experiment worked out? Here it says that the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy is coordinating a 5-year research plan to study ways of modifying the amount of sunlight that reaches the Earth in order to temporarily temper the effects of this word right here. So, in other words, the White House, government, I'll just say the government, they think that by taking care of what nature normally takes care of, that they'll save the planet by bringing down the temperature. Well, I'm going to show you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show you what a bunch of bull butter that is. And it's up to you. I've probably already lost half of you. I've probably already lost half of you. Why? Because you've been indoctrinated. Over the years, you've been indoctrinated to think one thing, and then when they don't want you to think that thing, they'll indoctrinate you to think something else. Why? Because most people, I won't even say most people, I'll just say a lot, because I can't speak for everyone. But I can tell you that a lot of people, they believe what they're told. Why? Because they're too lazy to go and do the research. Well, guess what? It took me about 10 minutes to look this up. One of our community members sent me this article, and then it took me about 10 minutes to come up with a few, specifications, I guess you can call it, historical charts and things like that, to show you, and even from NASA, to show you that this is malarkey, that this is bull butter, that what they're doing here is very dangerous for humankind. While arguments of moral hazard have handicapped research efforts, let me explain to you what that means right there, because that very first statement is completely loaded. It's loaded. While arguments of moral hazard have handicapped research efforts. What do they mean by that? They mean that the government goes to an institution and says, hey, we want you to research this, and we're going to pay you to research it. But this is the outcome that we want. So you have scientists who need to make a living, who sell their souls for money, and they therefore come up with research that proves what the government is trying to portray upon us. And I'm going to show you an example of that right here. All right, give me a couple of minutes. I'm not just saying this. And in a way, think about it. If you're a young scientist, let's say you just graduated from Harvard, you're 24, you're 26 years old, and you just started a family, you have the McMansion, you have the $80,000 truck, you have the wife and 2.5 kids, and you're living a debt lifestyle, meaning that you're indebted, that there's really no equity. It's very easy for a scientist like that, or any scientist who may need the money, to accept the money and provide the results that the government wanted. Same thing that's happened here in the last couple of years, where you have a whole bunch of people in the medical industry that have decided to take the money and go just to play along, or go along just to get along, I guess you can say, because they were threatened with their license, etc., right? But I'll leave that at that. The idea is getting more urgent attention in the worsening climate crisis. So right now we're going through a climate crisis. But the question is this: who created that climate crisis? Well, if you were to listen to the government and all of the people that they've paid, we have. It's our fault. It's the fault of humanity. It's my fault because I drive an SUV. It's your fault because you use electricity too much. And now they're saying, well, if by 2050 we're not zero carbon, then we're done. And they couldn't be more wrong, in my opinion. They couldn't be more wrong, because we need that compound in order to live. Here it says the White House is coordinating a 5-year research plan to study ways of modifying the amount of sunlight that reaches the earth to temper the effects of the word that you can't even say on YouTube. A process sometimes called solar geoengineering or sunlight reflection. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, that we get our energy, what you eat every day that keeps you alive, it's energy that was transferred from the sun onto our plants, and then we consume it. Without that sunlight and the process of, I believe it's photosynthesis, when the plants turn sunlight into actual calories, without that process, we have no food. Some of the techniques, such as spraying sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere, are known to have harmful effects on the environment and human health. But scientists and climate leaders who are concerned that humanity will overshoot its emissions target say research is important to figure out how to best balance the risks against a possibly catastrophic rise in the Earth's temperature. So for those of you that are still here and that are open-minded enough to listen, let me show you what NASA has come up with, all right? And then I'm going to show you some other things. And I'm going to end it here. I'm going to end it here with telling you exactly how much of the problem that they say there is, you and I, we humans, are contributing. So as you can see, this is from the NASA website, Ask NASA Climate. And I just want to show you a chart that they have on this site, so you can take a look at it for yourself. And it's this one right here. This is the temperature anomaly, all right, in Celsius. And you can see that since 1880, it's been pretty much on an upward trend. But I'm asking myself, well, I mean, 1880 in geological terms, 140 years or so, that's really nothing. In geological terms, 140 years is nothing. The Earth has been around for 4.5 billion years. It has been inhabited, as far as we know, for the last I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 12,000 years. I think 12,000 years. Correct me if I'm wrong down there on the comments. But I think that it's been inhabited by human-like creatures for like the last 12,000 years or so. So let's just say 12,000 years. It doesn't really matter. But you can see right here that this is very alarming. I mean, just over the last 142 years or so, we have gone up in Celsius. We have gone up, what, about 600%? About 500-600%. That's a lot. But then I want to show you this. I want to take it back just a little bit further. And you have to understand also that this time right here is a great time for them to capture. It's a great time because that's when we started industrializing. That's when we started, building factories. That's when we started, using a lot more fossil fuels. Somewhere in this time frame here, I don't remember the exact year, they discovered oil, that you can get oil from under the ground, and that oil can be turned into a biofuel of various in various methods to do different things. And we started industrializing all the way up to I think this goes up to 2020, but nonetheless, it's very relevant. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take it to a chart that takes us back a really long time. Let's take it all the way back to the dinosaur age. Right? Nature is a cycle that goes like this. It's a sine wave. The cycle of nature is like a sine wave. All right? And that's what you can see in nature if you take the time and expand it out for a really long ways. So you can see here that 65 million years ago that it was pretty hot. But then you can see that millions of years later it started getting cold. Look at how cold it got. All the way down here to like -5. And eventually we get to where we are now. This here is year 2000. This is the year 2050 right here. So each tick mark equals 50 years. So we're right around, roughly around the middle. And it ends right here. It shows you where it ends. And this is where we are. And you can see that we've been getting hotter ever since around that time that this chart right here tells you. See that? 1880. And you see this right here? Around when we started getting hot. Here it says 1850. But around that time, that the chart that NASA shows us that it's been getting hotter as a trend, that's where they cut it off. It's where it started getting warmer. But they don't talk about what made it get so warm back here. Even here, even during this time, 15 million years ago, it was hotter. Even though we were in a cooling period, even 15 million years ago, it was hotter than it is now. This is where we're at right now. So even 15 million years ago was hotter than where we're at now. And that was a cooling period. Why is that? It's because everything's a cycle. My question to you is this. Where were all the humans? Where were all the SUVs? Where were all the cars? Where was all the industry? Where were all the carbon polluters back here? And what made it get so cold? Why did it get so cold all of a sudden? And now that it's starting to get warm, what's making it get warm? Is it really you and me? And if they start to spray all of these things in the atmosphere and it gets really cold, like in this, like back to this level right here, how good do you think that would be for humankind? How good do you think that would be? I don't think it would be very good. You can't grow food. You can't grow food when it's really, really cold. And you can't grow food when there's no sun. And that's what they're talking about now. It's blocking the energy from the sun from hitting the earth. Earth may not seem like an overly hot planet, yet its average surface temperature is the 3rd highest in the solar system. And my question is this. If the Earth's temperature is the 3rd highest, then what affects the temperature of the other planets? You think maybe it would be the sun? I mean, I would think so. Then again, I'm not a physicist. I think common sense would say that if Pluto is the farthest planet, if they even call it a planet anymore, if Pluto is the farthest planet from the sun, I'm guessing that it's probably a lot colder than Earth is. Although Earth's temperature is influenced by our distance from the sun, the Earth would be a fairly, listen to this, the Earth would be a fairly cold planet if it were not for the composition of our atmosphere. The sun supplies heat, and our atmosphere contains and regulates that heat. One of the most important compounds in our atmosphere is, go ahead, read it for yourself, which is a greenhouse gas that helps maintain warmer temperatures on the surface. If the Earth had no carbon dioxide in its atmosphere, the planet would freeze over. If the Earth had too much carbon dioxide, the planet would be too hot to support life in any way that it currently does. Fortunately for us, the Earth's atmosphere has just the right amount of carbon dioxide. The atmosphere is approximately 0.04%, 4/100ths of a percent carbon dioxide, which may not seem like much, yet it is the difference between the world that we know and one that is covered in ice. This, ladies and gentlemen, this right here is why they want to spray stuff into the atmosphere that will eventually make it down to your food. And again, here is a chart that shows the levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Right now it's pointing at about 410 or so ppms. Okay? Look at how much it's increased over the last 800,000 years. Why don't they go back 20 million years or 30 million years? This is why they don't go back millions of years or hundreds of millions of years, ladies and gentlemen, because it's very easy for the powers that be to manipulate your thought if they just show you what they want you to see. Because you see right here, this is around where we are right now. See the year 2000 right here, the year 2500, which is where they're predicting that will be. So around 2000, so let's say that 2021 is right around here, right? It's not even that, it'll probably be around here. So let's say that this is where we are right now. There's an arrow right here. This is where we are right now, around 400, 410 or so ppm, parts per million. That's how much there is in the atmosphere right now, around that. But take a look back. Let's just go back. I don't know, where is this? Let's go back 100 million years. 100 million years ago, there was more than 500 ppm in the atmosphere. What was causing that? If you go back 200 million years ago, there was about 1800 ppm in the atmosphere. What was causing that? If you go back 400 million years ago, there's over 2000 ppm in the atmosphere. What was causing that? It wasn't humans. It wasn't industrialization. It wasn't fossil fuels. It wasn't cars. It wasn't SUVs. It wasn't industry. What was it? All right, so what was it? It's a cycle, ladies and gentlemen. The earth is a living thing. It is a cycle, just like anything else. But they only show you what they want to show you. That way you can know what they want you to know. And what they're showing you is not a lie. What they are showing you is factual. It's true. But they only show you the pieces that they want you to know. It's almost like lying by omission so that they can reach their goal or their agenda. So what I'm trying to tell you here is think for yourselves. When you hear these things, it's okay. You know, it's okay for you to hear them because they're not going to stop introducing these theories to you. They're not going to stop telling you how safe it is to do something when maybe it's not, and you should do a little research, because they themselves are now admitting that they didn't do their research 2 years ago. So now they're trying to spray things into the atmosphere that will mess around with nature. And I go back to the question that I started with. What has government ever done that's turned out good? When they interfere with nature in one way or another, does it ever turn out good? The answer is no, because nature is going to do what nature is going to do anyways. And the funny thing is that we need that compound in order to exist. Carbon dioxide, the greenhouse gas of life. We need it in order to live. I'm going to bring it down to here. In units of volume, CO2's concentration is typically presented as around 400 ppm, depending on when these articles were written. This one was written a while ago. Look at that, almost 10 years ago in 2013. Right? Which translates to about 0.04% of the Earth's atmosphere, the equivalent of 40 cents out of $1,000, or 1.4 inches on a football field. Even atmospheric argon is 23 times more abundant at 9,300 ppm. Moreover, 400 ppm in 2013 is 100 ppm more than the 280 ppm carbon dioxide level in the 1800s, and we just showed you that it's a cycle. And that 2-century increase is equivalent to a mere 12 cents out of $1,000, or 1/2 inch of a football field. Eliminate carbon dioxide and plants would shrivel and die. Now remember, this is all my opinion, even though I'm reading this from articles like that came from NASA and people that actually know what they're talking about. This is just my opinion, ladies and gentlemen. You have to do your research. They say here that eliminating carbon dioxide and plants would shrivel and die. So would lake and ocean phytoplankton, grasses, kelp, and other water plants. After that, animal and human life would disappear. What is it that we're supposed to be getting to by 2050? Is it called net zero? And do you know what net zero means? Maybe you ought to look that up as well. But anyways, even reducing CO2 levels too much, sending them back to pre-industrial levels, for example, would have terrible consequences for our crops, other plants, animals, and humans. The dawn of the 19th century marks the time when our planet finally began its fitful emergence from the Little Ice Age. So if you're in an Ice Age cycle and you're getting out of that cycle, what do you think is going to happen to temperature? That had cooled the earth and driven Viking settlers out of Greenland. Many scientists say plants were comparatively starved for carbon dioxide during that chilly area. Rising CO2 levels. Atmospheric levels of CO2 have risen from approximately 280 ppm pre-industrial to nearly 400 ppm today. Over the past 2 centuries, warming oceans release some of the carbon dioxide stored in their waters. Beginning with the Industrial Revolution, factories and growing human population burned more wood and fossil fuels, baked more bread, and brewed more beer, adding still more CO2 to the atmosphere, adding still more CO2 to that 0.04% that it makes up of the atmosphere. Much more of the miracle molecule came from volcanoes and subsea vents, forest fires, biofuel use, decaying plants and animals, and exhaust from living, breathing animals and humans. El Niño events warmed seawaters, causing them to exhale huge amounts of CO2 into the atmosphere. What a difference even higher CO2 concentrations exert on plants, and thus on animals and humans that depend on them. The more carbon dioxide there is in the atmosphere, the more it is absorbed by plants of every description, helping them to grow faster, better, and even under adverse conditions like limited water, extremely hot air temperatures, or infestations of insects and other pests. As trees, grasses, algae, and crops grow faster and become healthier and more robust, animals and humans enjoy better nutrition on a planet that is greener and greener. CO2 is also a pollution fighter, they say, not me, they say, that reduces the harmful effects of ozone, nitrous oxides, and other pollutants in the air, or too much nitrogen fertilizer in the soil. That's where I'm going to stop it. If this doesn't at least convince you to do a little bit of your own research, and you go along to get along with this fallacy that we humans are destroying the earth because we live, because we grow food, because we have animals and raise animals for protein, if this doesn't at least convince you to do your own research, God bless you, and I guess you can just go on with your life. taking everything that is told to you by the pundits on the mainstream media to face. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have researched this so much over the years, and there's still a lot that I have to learn. But just looking at the surface of everything that I've looked at tells me that what we are being told is probably part of an agenda. And that agenda is called net zero. What happens when there is no CO2 left in the atmosphere? I think you can answer that question for yourself. Have a great day. I'm going to try to put this video up before our live stream. All right, maybe we can talk about this during our live stream as well. Having said that, have a great day. Hope to see you there at 9 a.m. Alaska time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And I guess we'll talk to you later on today. God bless you all.